Over 50,000 people a year relocate to Utah. What makes it about Utah that makes so many people want to land here as their final spot? In this video, I'm going to jump into why me and my family decided to actually relocate to Utah. After 8 years of service, we finally got to decide where we wanted to live, and Salt Lake City was our #1 choice. Hey, my name is Scott Willie. I'm your local realtor here in Salt Lake City. We get calls and texts all the time from people wanting to relocate to Utah. Now, whether you're moving here in 9 days or 9 months, make sure to reach out to us. Our contact information is below. You can shoot us an email, give us a call. We would love to help you make that smooth move to Salt Lake City. Now, believe me, I have perspective of living all over the country. I grew up in the Portland, Oregon area, went to school in Southern California and lived there for several years. And then I was stationed all across the East Coast from North Carolina to Florida to Virginia. We finally ended up here in Utah, and I can tell you, it is by far the best place we've ever lived. So a little bit of background information and why we actually landed in Utah. Now, as part of my military service, I was stationed all across the East Coast. Now, the last 5 years living in North Carolina, yeah, it was a lot of fun living on the East Coast, but we really didn't have any ties to family, and we really had no intention of living there full time. So when we finally had a chance to discover where we wanted to live and raise our family, Utah was definitely at the top of our list. Now, here's some of the top things that we took into consideration before making that move to Utah. And a lot of these things are very common of what I hear from other clients who are thinking about moving to Salt Lake City. Some of the other major considerations for us is to be in a place where we felt like we could just grow our family, right? Some place where we felt like the school system was strong, that had low crime stats, that had a growing economy. We wanted to be in a place where we could see ourselves living long term. And another big factor that I hear from people all the time is the actual job market, the economy, and the opportunities. Now, as an entrepreneur and in the real estate industry, it was very important to live in a market that had a strong real estate industry, that had a strong job market. And again, that was just a very obvious indicator of why Salt Lake City made sense for us. Now, if you've served in the military or if you have family who has served, you understand how difficult it can be when it comes to where you live. Oftentimes you don't have a say and you're basically just stationed wherever the government tells you to live. When we finally had the opportunity to relocate where we wanted to live, it was important that we could be near family. We were kind of isolated on the East Coast for many, many years. We weren't really near family that we had or friends we had grown up with. And when we finally had the option to live where we wanted to, family was our #1 decision. And one of the biggest reasons why you actually see people relocate to Utah. Not only did we have family nearby, both from my side of the family and my wife's side of the family, but we are a short flight or a short drive away from where the rest of our family lived. That's what I love about the location of Salt Lake City. You're really a short drive away from places like California or those West Coast markets where it's very easy to either go visit family and friends, which for us growing up in the Pacific Northwest and going to school in California was super important. Not only that, but the ease of travel is very nice. Now, having the Salt Lake City International Airport within 20 to 30 minutes of the entire Salt Lake Valley was very important. We didn't have to drive several hours to get to the airport, and it makes traveling to and from Salt Lake City very convenient. The second big factor that was important to us and that I've noticed is important to a lot of people is the overall culture and values, right? You want to live someplace where you feel comfortable, you feel safe, whether it's the local government or how suburbs and the school system is set up really aligns with your values, whether it's from what they're teaching in the public schools to how your government officials represent the local population. It's very important that you choose some place that matches what you believe in and what you find important. That could not have been more true for me and my wife. We wanted to live someplace where we could instill those character traits and those values that were important to us raising kids. Now, funny enough, Utah is actually the youngest state in the entire country. The median age is like 31, and it's because so many people here have kids and grow families. And really that local culture and local values are really instilled from the family outward. Another big priority for us was living someplace where we could actually enjoy the outdoors. Being stationed in North Carolina, you dealt with very humid summers with massive bugs. And if you're like me, that was not attractive. So being able to actually relocate to the Mountain West was a huge blessing. We got to enjoy the outdoors. You know, now we actually enjoy going on bike rides, hiking, camping. All those things are very, very popular here and really aligned with what we like to do for leisurely activities. Now, if you pause and step back, you can look at all these markets across the country. I'm going to make a strong case for why Salt Lake City can be one of the best places to live, not just from a family perspective and from a leisurely activity perspective, but from an overall comfort and safety perspective. And that really has to do with the economy. Utah has been ranked one of the top economies several years in a row by the U.S. News and World Report. And it makes sense, right? You have a very strong job economy, you have low unemployment, and it was important for me and my family to live someplace that we felt like had a lot of growth potential. Salt Lake City not only has a very growing economy and growing population, but you're starting to see a lot more suburbs pop up. Contrast that to some of the other markets that has an overall negative net migration. There's a reason why people are leaving some of these other areas and moving to Utah. You've seen me mention this in some of the other videos, but things like low unemployment, low taxes, whether that's low property taxes or low corporate taxes, that really incentivizes people to move here. All of those things are making the Utah economy grow even faster. Since living here, I've been super impressed with how the government actually spends its taxes. You can really see that in everyday life, whether it's from the public school system that look like brand new college campuses sometimes, to the fact that you don't have a bunch of potholes in the road. They really take care of the city, and you can tell it's a really clean place to live where they utilize tax funds appropriately from its citizens. And you actually notice that across the state, all the way from North Ogden all the way down to St. George. That trend is really consistent across the state. It was also really important to me of how Utah takes care of its veterans. Whether you're an active duty service member that's getting stationed at some place like Hill Air Force Base, or if you're a veteran like me relocating to Utah, it was really important that we found some place that took care of their service members. It was also really important as a veteran to find a state that had local resources. You'll see that here in Salt Lake City, whether it's the brand new medical facility that they have built in South Jordan, or some of the local veteran service organizations that actually help veterans find jobs, they help veterans make disability claims, and they have a ton of resources to actually help veterans get connected into the community. I also appreciate that they have property tax abatements that can directly lower your mortgage payment. If you're a veteran that has a VA rating, the county will actually lower your property taxes for life. That is a very cool and unique thing that is directly tied to real estate and why so many veterans enjoy living in Utah. And last on this list for me and for a lot of people wanting to move here is the overall entrepreneurship and how Utah really supports local business owners. It's really important to live in an area that has not only business-friendly policies and business-friendly taxes, but can also give you a chance to expand your outreach. And because Utah is such a growing area, it's been awesome as an entrepreneur to really connect with other like-minded people. Now, since living here over the past few years, I've definitely noticed a couple hidden gems that I had no idea were even a thing until we moved here. One in particular, I used to hate seafood. In fact, to this day, I still kind of do. But there's actually a restaurant downtown called Takashi, and it is by far my favorite sushi restaurant. I would never have thought that I would ever find a place, especially in the mountains, that were not even like near the ocean. This is one of my all-time favorite restaurants. Another hidden gem is actually the Hill Air Force Base. There's a museum on base that has some of the coolest aircraft around. If you like aviation, or if you're a military guy like me, we actually did a family photo shoot up there recently that was really cool. It was awesome to be able to walk around, check out some of the old aircraft. Definitely a hidden gem that I had no idea existed until we actually went up there and checked out the museum. One of my favorite hikes is called the Living Room. It's actually close to downtown Salt Lake City. Now, when you walk all the way to the top, there's all these like boulders sitting around that kind of looks like it might be furniture, and that's really where the name came from. You can go up there, you can sit on this furniture in the living room and check out the beautiful views of downtown Salt Lake City. The first time I ever did it was just before dusk, and it was some of the most phenomenal views that I've ever had during a hike. My recommendation, if you're still doing some research to figure out where you want to live, I would sit down, write out your top priorities of what's most important to you, of where you're going to call home. Yes, every city is going to have its pros and cons, but once you get clarity and figure out exactly what your priorities are and what Utah has to offer, it'll probably make it really obvious why so many people are moving to Salt Lake. And if you have questions about this, or you want to get an insider's perspective, make sure to check out some of our other videos where we walk you through exactly what to expect when living in some of these suburbs, all the good, all the bad. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can get the latest information about Salt Lake City.